Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to the Miami Beach Israel Revival and Bnei Yeshua Synagogue, home of the Miami Beach Israel Revival. Come on in to the World Center of True House Revival. We're happy you're with us this morning. We're going to experience a time in the Word of Yahweh where we listen to the voice of the Ruach and get the mind of Yeshua in the matters of the latter-day restoration of his wayward people Israel. We thank you for signing up and being a Video Club member, and we pray that this upcoming hour and a half is a blessing to you, your mishpacha, your chaverim, family and friends, and all those you choose to share this dynamic truth of Israel's two-house latter-day restoration with. All of our messages use the true name of Yahweh, bringing glory to both the Son as well as the Father. So come on in and join us right here in Bnei Yeshua Synagogue in the Miami Beach Israel Revival. Shalom. That's wonderful. Wonderful stuff. I think he can teach, don't you?
I think so.
After 30 years teaching in Zimbabwe, I think he can teach our youngsters a few things. Okay, let's go to Vayikra Vayikra, Leviticus, chapter 11. How many have also come to hear the word of Yahweh today? Amen. Amen. In addition to singing and rejoicing and worshiping, I've come to hear the word of Yahweh. Amen. Vayikra 11, Yahweh, verse 1. Vayikra, Leviticus 11, verse 1. Yahweh spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, saying to them, speak to the children of Israel, saying, these are the living creatures which you do eat. Later on in chapter 11, Yahweh tells us of the living creatures that we are not to eat. I said that to say that this morning's message is not going to be about keeping kosher. But the same way Yahweh allows certain things to be eaten and other things to be avoided, and so it is in our daily lives. So it is in our friendships. So it is in our relationships. So it is in our partnerships, in our soul ties that we have in our life. Are you with me?
Okay.
And so Yahweh divides all of our friendships and all of our relationships into two categories. Clean and unclean. Clean and unclean. Just like Yahweh divides the foods that we can eat into clean and unclean. Permitted, not permitted. Same with friendships. Same with friendships. Permitted and not permitted. Now, this week we're gonna do a two-part teaching. And this week I want to focus in first on the not permissible, or the friendships we are not allowed to have. See, and this message is going to help you if you allow it to help you. It's going to assist you if you allow it to assist you. And that's the way Yahweh views all our friendships. And friendships are something that we choose, do we not?
Yes.
We choose our friends. We don't choose our mom, we don't choose our dad, we don't choose our cousins, but we do choose our friends. And most believers, can we be honest? Most believers fail when it comes to choosing friendships. Okay? Including myself, we all fail. We all don't make the wisest choices that we can possibly make. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Whether it's dating, whether it's school friends, whether it's whatever the situation is. So you've got to get a heavenly perspective on this. Yahweh sees our relationships the way He sees our eating habits. And our eating habits can be broken down into what? Clean foods, permissible. Unclean foods, not permissible. And so it is in our friendships, our associations, and in our relationships. Is anyone with me?
Yes.
Is everyone with me? I prefer that everyone was with me as opposed to anyone being with me.
Yes.
The word for friendship in Hebrew, the camaraderie, association type friendship, is the Hebrew word ra'ah, which is interesting. We say chavurah, which is friendship association. When we have chavurah, we have friendship affiliation. We have friendship camaraderie. We have friendship soul ties. So the word for friendship is ra'ah, and the word for fellowship is chavurah. Because we have associations and companionships based around the friends we choose. Are you with me?
Yes.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. But in a negative connotation, what's interesting is the word for evil or bad or wicked is also the same root word, ra'ah. When something is said to be evil, wicked, or bad, the Hebrew word is ra'ah. That is the same root, Strong 7462, that is used for friendship. Are you getting a picture here? We as human beings tend to choose associations, companionships, affiliations, and soul ties, friendships that are often based on evil criteria and not on Yahweh's true permissible criteria. Are you with me? That's just in our fallen nature. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't blame yourself. Don't condemn yourself. That's just in our fallen nature. Okay? It's not, Murphy's Law applies into the, or a perverted Murphy's Law applies to the kingdom. If you give a human being enough time to screw something up, they will destroy it. It's just a matter of time. Right? I mean, that's why we're human beings. We're frail. We're subject to human frailty, human error, and of course, human mistakes. Okay. So the Hebrew word for friendship is the word ra'ah, which literally means, listen, it means to graze, like sheep graze together in the same field, to graze together, to eat together, to associate together, to keep company together, to feed together. And so basically, the word ra'ah means coming together for the purpose of what? Feeding on the word of Yahweh, and feeding off each other's righteousness, and feeding off each other's purity, and feeding off each other's holiness, and feeding off each other's set-apartness. And so the Hebrew word for friendship is ra'ah, which means feed on common food. And we know Yahshua said, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahweh. And so this morning's message is all about friendship. Practical, messianic living. Turn to your neighbor and say practical.
Practical.
Turn to your neighbor and say messianic living.
Messianic living.
We're talking about practical, messianic living. How do we choose and not choose our friends? First thing you have to do is you must begin to look at a potential friendship as either biblically kosher or non-kosher. The same way Yahweh wants you to look at food. Not, is it good? Not, will I lose weight? Not, will I shed calories? Not, will it give me the proper protein? All that is good. Nutrition, nourishment, all that is good. There's nothing wrong with that. But we are first to look at food as either kosher, permitted, or unkosher, not permitted. Amen?
Amen.
And that's the way Yahweh wants us to pick our friends. Not on how big their this is, or their wallet is, or their biceps are, or their this is, or if they're an elder in the Koich, or if they're a prolific author, or they're a good speaker, they're a good pontificator. That is not the criteria we are to use in choosing our friendship.
Amen.
Are you with me?
Amen.
Now, of course, you say, well, obviously, kosher friendships begin with a believing friend. If they're not believers, you can't really have a kosher friendship. But I want to get past the obvious. That's obvious stuff. That's a no-brainer. We need to get past the obvious stuff. Practical Messianic Israelite living. And the problem is, a lot of us have friendships that are not kosher. Let's be honest. Let's be frank. You can't come here on Shabbat, surround yourself with the community of Yahweh, and go hang out with the bums on Sunday and Monday. They will destroy you. They'll pull you down. They will tear apart everything Yahweh is trying to build up in your life. And a lot of us hang out with bums, and sometimes even people that are saved can be unequally yoked with us. But let's not even get into that right now. That's it. So this week I want to talk in part one of All About Friendships. Turn to your neighbor and say, it's all about friendships. I want to talk about the unclean friendships that we make, so that next week we can get positive, more positive, and talk about the biblically kosher friendships that we are to make. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Unkosher friends, like Leviticus 11, it's interesting, Raina mentioned 11 years. She was waiting for her car for 11 years. And that was that is the exact chapter 11 that talks about clean and unclean foods, or permitted and not permitted foods, or allowable and not allowable foods. But what I'm trying to share with you, there are certain friendships that are not allowed in the kingdom. And we are not to avail ourselves or drink at the same fountain, or graze in the same fold, or graze in the same field, or associate or even break bread with them. Do you know, people come to me all the time and they say, well, Rabbi, I have the Jehovah's Witnesses coming to my door. What should I do? How should I handle it? I said, did you open your door? You just violated the word of Yahweh. Well, Rabbi, that's not the loving thing to do. That's not what Yeshua would have done. Oh, well, yes, he would. Okay, because I've argued with them, and I can argue from the Hebrew, and I'm still not going to convince them.
Okay, and then we had a debate that somebody set up a debate between a Jehovah's Witness pastor and myself, and it was a big thing. Rabbi's going to debate a Jehovah's Witness pastor, and we had it in a home in Hollywood, and I'll never forget it. And right before we were about to get started, and they opened up in a word of prayer, and I was uncomfortable with that, to be frank with you. But my wife, someone asked my wife to move the car because the car was in the driveway, blocking the driveway. And so Rivka said, sure, no problem, we'll move the car. So she went, because it was taking place in someone's home who was teetering between the Messianic faith and the Jehovah's Witness faith. And so Rivka went out, she started the engine to move the car, and about 30 seconds later I heard a, and I'm like, oh, Casper. My wife ran into the pastor's car of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, hallelujah.
The man that I was going to debate with in like 30 seconds. He just prayed to get in the spirit. He freaked out and he turned red and he went, but then he tried to, oh, wait a second, it's a rabbi. But it's okay. Meantime, his car smashed. But then he caught himself, he was getting PO'd, the profanity was like crawling to the tip of his tongue. And then he goes, oh, there's a rabbi. I mean, praise God anyway. So anyway, I don't know how that came up. But the point is that don't set up a appointment with a Jehovah's Witness pastor with any cars in the driveway. Please, park somewhere else. All right, but I want to turn to 3 John. I want to show you something. Turn to 3 John, 3 Yochanan. Yes, brothers and sisters, 3 Yochanan is still in the scriptures. 3 Yochanan, chapter 10. 3 Yochanan, chapter 10. I'm sorry. Yes, correct. I stand corrected. I stand even more corrected. 2 Yochanan, verse 10. 2 Yochanan, verse 10. Now, I get this all the time. How do you handle someone that comes to your door, a Mormon? How do you handle them? You don't. See, we're ignorant of the word of Yahweh sometimes. We don't know how to handle these people.
Right.
We start witnessing to them, and then 2 weeks later, you come to the Kingdom Hall, and then 3 weeks later, you're in the front row of the Kingdom Hall. Okay, because they're not interested in truth. They're interested in convincing you and putting brownie points on their agenda so they can get promoted within the kingdom hierarchy. Are you with me? That's why they incessantly knock on your door and try to convert you. Now look at talking about friendships, all about friendships. Verse 10. You have 2 Yochanan 2:10. I'm sorry, 2 Yochanan verse 10. If anyone, turn to your neighbor and say anyone. Let's try that again. Anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching. What teaching? The teaching of the 2 houses, the blood of Yeshua, everything you and I hold dear. Okay, that Yeshua is Yahweh come in the flesh. Do not receive him into your home, nor say, have a good day. Don't even greet him.
Nothing, yes.
You are not to receive him into your home, nor are you to greet him. For if you greet him and allow him to enter your home, you share in his wicked works.
That's right.
Come on.
So there are certain friendships that you are not allowed, that Yahweh says they are unkosher, they're not lawful, they're not permissible, they're not allowed in the kingdom of Yahweh.
That's it.
So what seems like such a complicated thing, how do I reach a Mormon? You don't, Yahweh does. How do you reach a Jehovah's Witness? You don't, Yahweh does. You pray and live like a light, and let your light so shine before men, that when they see your good mitzvot and your life in Yeshua, they will glorify your Father who is in heaven.
Hashem Yahweh.
Don't let him into your house. Don't say, have a nice day. Don't say, God bless you, or anything else that comes into your mind. Because the word says in verse 11, if you do that, you're partaking of their sin. Well, how are we going to reach them? I don't know. How did Yahweh reach you? And you were Jewish. How did Yahweh reach you?
That's right.
And not only were you Jewish, you were bar mitzvah. Did that stop Yahweh?
No,
Come on.
that didn't stop Yahweh.
So it's all about friendships. Kosher and unkosher friendships. Number 1, let's talk about this week unkosher friendships. friendships that are not permissible. They are not allowed. Okay? Number one, unkosher friendship are those with worldly people. Worldly people. Turn to Yaakov. Yaakov 4:4. Yaakov 4:4. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. I said Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Hashem Yahweh.
Yaakov 4:4. As a child of Yahweh, you and I must avoid unkosher relationships. Biblically unkosher. Remember to try to divide your friendships into kosher, unkosher. Because to have chavurah, what is the Hebrew word for friendship? Ra'ah, it means you're grazing, eating, and associating in the same field. Whatever they take in, you'll take in. Whatever they practice, you'll practice. And it's just a matter of time until you take in and practice the same things that they take in and they're practicing. Are you with me?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. Yaakov 4:4. Adulterers and adulteresses. Do you not know? Now, is Yaakov writing to believers or unbelievers?
Believers.
Sure. He's writing to the 12 tribes.
Yeah.
The Shtem Yisrael, Shiftei Yisrael, the 12 tribes of Israel. Shiftei Yisrael. In Yaakov 1:1, he says, Yaakov, a servant of Elohim, to the 12 tribes. And then verse 2, my brothers. So is he writing to believers or unbelievers? He says, my brothers. He's writing to believers. Amen? And he says to these believers, he calls them adulterers and adulteresses. Whoa, where's the love? Where's the... Whoa. I thought this was Yeshua's half-brother.
Yeah.
Where's his love? But he calls brethren adulterers. So by keeping unbiblical relationships or unkosher relationships, do you realize that you can become an adulterer and adulteress in the eyes of Yahweh? Do you know that? Just like if you eat pig and shellfish and lobster just once a month, you could become as unclean in Yahweh's eyes as the food. He will see you as he sees the food. And if you don't think it's important to be clean before Yahweh, read Isaiah 66, where he says, all those who eat swine's flesh, I will destroy their body.
Yes.
So go ahead and have your pig and think you're fooling the rabbi, and go ahead and have your shellfish, and go ahead and have your lobster. But Yahweh says you'll be treated like the dead men who are not believers. You will die the same kind of death, your body will be gathered with the eagle, where the eagle is gathered and the vulture is gathered. Don't eat just anything, obey Yahweh. And Yahweh says, but when you choose friends that are unkosher, I begin to see you as an adulterer and adulteress. Let me tell you something before we get into the deep things of today's message. I have no unbelieving friends. I have no Jehovah's Witness friends. I barely have Messianic friends. There's a reason for that. Okay? Because a rabbi doesn't have a lot of friends. And then there's a reason for that. Okay? And I'll play tennis with someone once in a while, and I'll play pool and be, and be friendly. But when I get too close, I push myself away to protect myself. I can't be your drinking buddy and your shepherd. I can't do that. Okay? There has to be some separation. So I don't have many friends, even Messianic. I'm grateful for the few that I do have. but the point is, in our lives, we are to make, because the way we choose our friends is the way we're obeying Torah. And when we don't choose our friends properly, we are violating the laws of kosher friends, just equal to how we're violating the laws of kosher foods. Okay? You have nothing to do with an unsaved person. Nothing. You witness to them, you share Yahweh's love with them, and you leave them. You do not stay their friends. We'll get to that in a second. Okay, number one, worldly people. Adulterers and adulteresses. Do you not know that friendship, verse 4, Yaakov 4:4, friendship with the world is enmity, or puts you in an enemy status with Elohim. Whoever therefore intends to be a friend of the world will make himself an enemy of Elohim. A friendship with unsaved worldly people who dress unbiblically, who listen to unbiblical music, who have sexual preferences that are unbiblical, alternative lifestyle. Read my lips. There's only one alternate lifestyle, and that's the lifestyle living for Yahweh. There are no other alternate lifestyle. The only alternate lifestyle is not living like the world, but living separate. If the world is wearing a spaghetti strap, you don't. If the world is listening to Chris Rock, you don't. The trick is to see how far out of the world you can come, not how far in the world you can walk and still maintain your testimony, and still maintain your light, and still not have Yahweh separate you from His chosen. So the trick is to see how close to Yahweh you can get and far away from the music, the tastes, and the mores of this age. Are you with me? Okay. So when you have a friendship with the world, the first friendship that's unbiblical is friendship with the world. And who are in the world? Worldly people. Who are most of the people that are in the world? Worldly people. What makes a person a worldly person? They are the Talmidim of S.A.10. I don't care how many services you go to. I don't care how many Rosh Chodeshes you go to. If you're surrounded with a whole bunch of heathen and you talk to a whole bunch and you love their music, you love their drinking, you love their carousing, you love their rioting, and you run with them in their rioting, you're living just like the world. You have worldly friends. Yahweh says you're hanging out with unkosher people. I see you as an adulterer and adulteress in the kingdom of Yahweh. You don't want Yahweh seeing you like that. Are you with me? Is anyone with me?
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. If we have a craving to mimic the unsaved world or the saved world that are Torahless, then this friendship is the way of the world. It is not the halakha of Yahweh.
Yes.
You can't love the world. That doesn't mean you have to stop breathing. It doesn't mean you can't go to a